All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and what on earth happened on Sunday. I know I touched upon it yesterday doing the recaps of every game, but I just wanted to, devote a segment to this because, I mean, what happened to the Chiefs losing to the Broncos? What's going on? What happened in that game? And I mean, for me, I think it's just one of those games they just, they've had these games in the past, and I did mention that yesterday. I mean, you could tell from start to finish, as that game progressed, that the Chiefs just weren't going to win. Every time they were getting something going, like they would turn the ball over. I think they turned the ball over 5 times. Mahomes did not look good in this game. He threw a couple of picks. I think he fumbled in this game. McCole Hardman muffed a punt. I mean, we'll go through it just to double check here, but it was just a mess of a game. Russell Wilson, I mean, he threw 3 touchdowns in this game, but that's because he had short field. I mean, he only had 114 yards passing. So Mahomes had 2 picks in the game. So there was a fumble. Yeah, so Valdez-Scantling fumbled. Then Mahomes threw a pick. Then there was another fumble. He lost the ball. It was on a sack. And then actually the Broncos fumbled on their possession. It was 14-9 at one point. That's what it was going into the half. So you thought, okay, the Chiefs still have a chance in this game, but then there was no scoring in the third quarter. And then the Broncos they outscored the Chiefs 10-0 in the second. Well, yeah, they outscored the Chiefs 10-0 in the second half. Chiefs didn't do anything in the second half. But that's one of the things you got to worry about with the Chiefs, though, is just there are games where they look like a mess, and this was one of them. Now, I think ultimately when all the chips are on the table, you're not going to bet against them. And listen, like I've been saying constantly, every team it just looks like can be beat. There's no team that you just have no idea what team you're going to get from week to week. And, people are pointing at Mahomes, he was coming off of the flu, so that had to have some impact, the weather and all that. But, I mean, this is a team that, you beat yourselves. They did. They beat themselves in this game with the turnovers. If you don't turn the ball over, or at least, you don't turn the ball over in some of those, you have less than the amount of turnovers you had, you probably win that game. But that was not the case. I think the Chiefs, they're another team where you got to look at them and say they're going to be fine because they've had this happen to them before. They won the Super Bowl last year. Do I expect them to win this year? No, but they do look like, to me, up until, of course, this week. And actually, I'd probably still say, as of right now, I still think they're the best team in the AFC right now. But, this game didn't do them any favors. And some teams that are starting to, find their groove, like the Bengals especially, right now, you put the Bengals and the Chiefs against each other, kind of got to like the Bengals in the game. I think the Chiefs will be okay. But I think they got to go out and get another receiver. Because the receivers right now that they have aren't really doing it. You brought McCole Hardman back, and already he's fumbled. He fumbled on Sunday and gave the Broncos great field position, deep in the Chiefs' territory. And the funny thing is everyone's like, oh, Taylor Swift wasn't there. That's why they weren't doing good. I was disappointed, though, that we didn't see any snow on the ground. It did snow, but they cleared it all off. It was just one of those games. They just really, they couldn't get anything going. Sky Moore, he dropped a touchdown in this game. Nothing went right for the Chiefs. Nothing went right. So I mean, now they play in Germany against the Dolphins. So I mean, I think that they will. That's another big game on Sunday. Dolphins Chiefs. Those are the top two teams record wise in the AFC. And I think, well, actually, also the Ravens are up there too. Let's take a look at that really quickly, because I think. Oh yeah, and the Jags also are 6-2. So you got 4 6-2 teams right now. Yeah, so right now it's anybody's home field advantage is anyone's game right now at the moment. But that's crazy. So that game is really important. So apparently there were trades that went down. Let's see if I can. So the Bears traded for Commanders defensive lineman Montez Sweat. They traded his second round pick for him. And I know my friends are talking about it in the chat because it's like, I mean, the Bears aren't going anywhere. So why would they do that? I don't know. But I mean, they're 2-6. Fields is hurt. But I don't know. That's interesting. That's interesting that happened. So there's a trade right there that's gone down. Yeah, it's just weird because the Bears right now are they're not in position to do anything. I don't know. I guess it's just somebody they could get to, go into next year with. I don't know what to say about that. But back to the Chiefs topic. Yeah, well, I mean, you got 4 6-2 teams. So right now it's anybody for the number 1 seed. But that makes Sunday's game even more important for the Chiefs and the Dolphins because, if you lose, then you could find yourself being the 4 seed. So we'll see. That's a game I'm looking forward to. Obviously, the Ravens and the Jags, they play each other later in the year. The Chiefs and the Jags already played each other. But the Jags look like a different team. I mean, they're still they're finding their groove, especially defensively. Their defense has been playing a lot better. Offensively, they're getting it going, but, you want to see more. Obviously, I mean, they played in bad weather on Sunday against the Steelers. Ben said, Chiefs need to shake it off. Yeah. There were a lot of blank spaces after the game on Sunday. I'm sorry, I can't get over the Iron Eagle call in Week 2 against the Jags when Kelsey scored the touchdown. I know people are getting annoyed with all the Taylor Swift stuff. I get it. I mean, believe me, I'm with you on that. But I just thought that was just a funny call. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not worried about the Chiefs. I think they're going to figure it. I think they'll be fine. But they should go out and try to get another receiver. You should. And you have most of the receivers from last year. You have Valdez-Scantling. You have Tony, who hasn't been good. You have Sky Moore. You have Justin Watson. I mean, now Hardman's back, so I guess he technically counts. The only one that's not back is Juju Smith-Schuster. That's it. And they could maybe use him. Because he wasn't bad for them last year. Rashee Rice, though, has been good, though. He's been better, getting more involved in the offense. Right now, he's their leading receiver. So, and of course you have Kelsey. Obviously, arguably the greatest tight end of all time. Although, I think for me, I'd probably still put Gronk over him. I mean, but they're two different types of kinds of tight ends. You take Kelsey in terms of, his speed and agility and his route running. But Gronk he would bulldoze over people, and, he's a blocking tight end too, and the guy was just unbelievable. I think you still got to put him, but, I mean, if not, they're 1A and 1B. Because, I mean, they're easily the best tight ends I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I'm only 23. So I would look at them and say those are probably the best two that I've seen. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, for the Chiefs, I mean, yeah, it was just that was just a bad game. But on social media, obviously people are going to say the Chiefs don't get any criticism. Other guys are going to get more criticism if they have bad games. Mahomes had a bad game. Yeah, he did. But I think you should take the stance of if you're playing, there's no excuse. And he did say, I'm pretty sure he said he felt a lot better going into this game, coming off of the flu. So, but I will say this was kind of a team loss because you had guys fumbling, punts, and Valdez-Scantling fumbled. Mahomes had 3 turnovers, don't get me wrong, but there were other turnovers in this game, so it's not just, this loss isn't just on one guy, even though he's one of the main reasons they lost this game. He's got to play better. And also, the play calling has kind of been called into question as well. Because now Eric Bieniemy is no longer there. He's with the Commanders. And, that's something that people have been talking about as well. So, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see. We're at the halfway point in the season. Trade deadline is today, so we'll see what the Chiefs can do. Can they go in and maybe get a receiver? Devontae Adams. Imagine that, Mahomes and Devontae Adams. Get him a receiver. I mean, listen, they won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. I mean, you don't have to get Mahomes like a superstar, but get him a receiver that can catch the ball. A productive receiver. Because, listen, they won the Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster as the number 1 wide receiver. And I thought Juju was good last year for them. So if you get a receiver like that can catch the ball, not fumble, I think that's all they need. I don't think you need to go out and get a Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think you need to do that. Now, would that be beneficial? Absolutely. I mean, if you have the chance to do it, you go out and do it. But I don't think the Chiefs need to go crazy. I think you get a receiver that is a dependable receiver that Mahomes can build a chemistry with, and then you take it from there. Because you have Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is your number 1 receiver, essentially. But you need somebody that, because these group of receivers that they have right now, some of them just aren't it. I mean, last year they traded for Kadarius Toney. How has that worked out? It's been awful. I mean, he had the touchdown in the Super Bowl. He had the punt return. So you thought, hey, maybe this is the year that he's going to break out. And it's been far from that. And I traded for him in a Dynasty League, and he has been... It hasn't been good. It hasn't been good. So we'll see. And, obviously throughout the day, if there's any breaking news, I'll make sure to, address it in a short that I might do. So check out for the shorts that I come out with later today. If in case anything massive happens at the trade deadline. So we'll see. But, that's pretty much it for the show today. I thank you guys for tuning in, of course. I'll be back again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, Friday is the doubleheader. You got the football podcast and then the baseball podcast shortly after that. So make sure to tune into both of those. Obviously, like I said, I'll be coming out with some shorts later in the day, so make sure to look out for them as well. And, of course, I'll be getting yesterday's show reposted into the 4 parts. So if you missed anything from yesterday, the live stream is up. But, of course, to make things easier, you'll have the segment broken down into the 4 parts. So for anything you missed, you can check that out. Watch out for that. Those will also be up on both YouTube channels. So with that, that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Make sure to tune in for that. And until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.